Yo, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Guys, I hope you're having an amazing day. Help us out here. I know we're getting a lot of viewers in here, but around 85% of y'all are not subscribed to the channel. So do me a huge favor, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what you're seeing here, especially with the information that we're giving out, as well as the great deals online at lakeprotackle.com. If you find anything that you like in there, subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video. And one of the big things that really helps us in the YouTube algorithm is giving comments down below. Just talk about what we're talking about in the video. It helps boost us up there, and I would really appreciate it, guys. So this video, I'm gonna be honest, this is a video that I do not want to talk about because it is a technique that undeniably is extremely effective, but it's just so mind-numbingly simple and, in my opinion, almost dumb sometimes to not throw it, that I just don't want to throw it sometimes. So we're going to be talking about the Ned rig today. It is a very effective spring technique. Well, it's an effective technique all times of the year, no matter what. But in the spring, what happens is a lot of the times those bass start to hunker down. So if you've watched the Elite Series, the Bass Pro Tour, guys, what happens is in the wintertime, they're usually targeting those suspended fish with forward-facing sonar. And what happens is a huge population of the fish actually roam on the bottom that are a lot harder to catch. Now, the ones that are suspended that the guys are targeting with forward-facing sonar and stuff, those are a lot easier to catch. They're up in the water column for a reason. They're sitting there to ambush bait. They're sitting on a tree, something like that. But the ones that are harder to catch, the bigger ones a lot of the time that you can't see on side scan or down scan or forward facing, they're just sitting down in the rocks, not moving much. This is a perfect technique to get those big fish, a really category of fish that aren't really pressured as much or pinged as much as the ones suspended up in the water column. So the Ned rig, it is something that I absolutely despise throwing. A lot of the time I'd rather throw a drop shot with a really short distance between my weight and my hook. I'd rather throw a shaky head. I'd rather throw a lot of things, and that's mainly because I have personally had a lot of bad experiences with Ned rigs in terms of hookup ratio, in terms of losing fish, in terms of just sitting there and letting it soak in the water. Now, there's a lot of differences between the old me and the new me here. Of course, I'm using better rods, better reels, better line, using better terminal, using better worms and stuff like that, and understanding how to marry all those together. And it's a really, it's a really hard process to get that down if you're not using the right rod, the line, the reel. It can be very frustrating. Another thing is I used to lose a lot of heads. I used to lose and break off all the time, whether it's a pond, a lake, a stream, it doesn't really matter. But now that I understand the Ned rig, I understand the power of the Ned rig and how I can get more bites all times of the year, not just springtime, but we're going to be focusing on the spring, the pre-spawn, and the spawn in this video here. So to break it down, guys, the Ned rig, very simply put, is going to be a smaller jig head, and I don't classify those really big Ned rigs, like the ones that, the hook shanks are really long. I don't classify those as traditional Neds. We're really going to be talking about your more traditional Neds, where the hook is only about an inch, maybe an inch and a half long, where the shank is. Very finesse approach to the Ned rig, guys. So, again, it's really just a jig head and basically like a piece of a Senko. Now you can put different things on a Ned rig, like a crawl, like a little Super Trooper. That is very effective, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to be focusing on the Senko style, the original Ned, the Ned itself. So we're going to be talking about techniques on how to throw it through the water column. We're going to be talking about, of course, baits and stuff, of course, rods. I'm going to leave the reels up to you, of course. I'm not going to tell you what reels to throw. I'm just going to say the faster the gear ratio, typically the better. 2,500 or 3,000 is going to be my go-to unless you're fishing smallmouth. So a lot of what I'm saying here is more biased towards Texas water. So if you're fishing smallmouth up in 20, 30, 40 feet of water, guys, you can get a 4,000. It reels in like 40 inches per turn and is very effective in that deep water. But for the purpose of this video, it's going to be more biased in Texas here. We got a lot of cover, don't have a ton of grass where I'm at, but of course I'm going to mention that as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the dragging techniques and retrieve techniques of the Ned rig. So kicking it off, I think you can see most of that there, yeah. All right, y'all, so the Ned rig, again, very, very effective. There's a lot of different techniques you can do with it. Typically, again, the Ned rig, very simply, is a jig head like this and like a Senko worm like that. All right, guys, so typically the most common retrieve with the Ned, especially for me, is going to be almost a slow drag on the bottom where my line's going, and it's just kind of, my Ned rig's kind of just sitting there, and I'm just gonna pull it along on the bottom. A very horizontal movement where I'm not popping it a lot. I'm kind of just dragging it up over rocks and stuff. Another very popular one here is going to be up off the bottom. So it's going to be right here. It's going to go up, and then it's going to do that. So a lot smaller hops, and that can be extremely effective if you've got bigger boulders and you have to really pop it up over those. So just here, lift up to right there. So very simply put, both these techniques here, it doesn't require a lot of reeling, and typically what I'm going to be doing when I'm either dragging it or slightly hopping it is I'm going to pull my rod just towards me, and instead of using the rod tip to pull it forward or pull it through the water, I'm just going to pull my arm back, not changing the angle of that line, not changing that angle at all. And you're going to find that when you do drag with just the rod tip, you're going to get snagged a lot more, because what happens is as you're reeling that Ned rig along with the rod tip, you're taking the line tie, which is actually right here on the head, you're going to pull it up and over. So a lot of the times when you do that, the head itself gets stuck in the rocks a lot more than really just pulling it with a flat, not changing the angle of that line. All right, guys, so we just went over two techniques that don't require a ton of rod movement. Now we're gonna move into some techniques that do require just a little bit of rod movement, literally just the tip. So with your bait being on the bottom, guys, right here, got your line. What we're gonna do is slightly pull the rod tip up and let that bait pendulum. So it's gonna go up around right here, and then it's gonna flutter back down in a pendulum and end up right here. So you got 1 and 2, and it's going to really just allow that bait to flutter down naturally, almost suspending and sinking down to the bottom, kind of like a dying bait fish. A lot of the time, if I've got sandy bottom, I really enjoy using this technique. If I've got gravel, this one's very effective. You cover water a lot faster, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. Another way you can do it, if you're fishing like a point area or like a rocky area, guys, I don't recommend the pendulum technique. I highly recommend a straight dragging technique, even letting your line out, releasing it from the bail, especially if you're way up here and you're pulling. You really want it to just stair step down through the rocks, keeping it close to the bottom. Now, of course, fish will suspend up here and there, and you're going to have to let line out accordingly. So those are kind of some dragging techniques of the Ned rig that I really enjoy. You know, there's almost no wrong way to retrieve the Ned rig, as long as you're keeping it next to the bottom and not hopping it too much. One of the worst things you can do is actually give it too much action, and it'll kill the bite there. So let's talk about some baits, some of my favorite baits that I absolutely love on a Ned rig, guys. So first off, Missile Bait's bomb shot, or Ned bomb here, is really, really effective, especially in the more spawny times, a little bit warmer water. It has a flat tail on it, so what it does is it kind of quivers around. It creates a little more action, and it really looks like a bluegill or a crawfish inside a bass's bed. So if I am bed fishing in open water most of the time, I don't like doing this around sticks or anything like that. And they are very, very finessey. They don't want to come out for anything. They're not going to commit to your bait. They kind of know what's up. This guy is very, very effective right there. at drawing in bites just because that tail is quivering. A lot of the time it just sits there. You can use, I think, like a 1/6 or a 1/5 ounce head, and it really just sits there, moves a little bit, causes some commotion, and you can let it soak in that bed and that fish will go eat it. Let's talk about this one here. So, of course, TRDs are great, or mini TRDs are great, but this is one of my all-time favorites from Z-Man. This is actually called a hula stick, and what I enjoy about it is it's really just a mini TRD, and it's got these little hula tentacles on it. So what you can do with this one, it's really neat. If you don't want the tentacles and you just want a straight mini TRD, you cut those tentacles off. There you go, there's your mini TRD. But if you want to add just a little subtle action on there, you can actually keep the little things on, and it's a little secondary action for you. It kind of really just looks like a bluegill or something down there. Looks like a little shad's tail just flickering. And you can actually take, 2 of them off if you want, and it really reduces the amount of action it has. Typically, you're going to be rigging your Ned rig up in the bottom here, but one thing that I found too is that's very effective is actually rigging it on this side where the tentacles are, rigging it up that way, and it looks like there's almost like a skirt coming out from that Ned rig, and it helps it stand up. Of course, Z-Man Elastech's very buoyant, so for a Ned rig, it is very, very effective. There's a couple other companies out there that have the same kind of Elastech, very buoyant materials, such as the Spro, what's this, Sakura worms, something like that. And there's a couple other ones out there. Smaller manufacturers use more like TPE material. So those are very, very great for getting your Ned rig to stand straight up. And that's another thing, guys. On your retrieves, you want your Ned rig to stand up. Make sure you have a heavy enough weight. Make sure you've got light enough line to where it can do that. Now, a very slept-on Ned rig bait is going to be a max scent flatworm. So anything finesse, guys, a flatworm can usually do it. A drop shot, you can put this 4 1/4 on a small shaky head in Ned rig. The Gobi Ashi color in the spring is extremely good. Canada craw, of course, going to be a great one. Anything kind of bluegilly or craw colored, those are absolutely money. Of course, they've got max scent, helps draw in bites. Fish hold on, catch 45% more fish. The fish bite and won't let go, Berkeley says. But the flatworm for me has been an absolute killer, especially in a little bit dirtier water. I think they can find it. I definitely think the max scent helps, so I enjoyed that. Another slept-on bait is going to be a Swing Impact by Kitech 3.5, guys. The little Kitechs here, they've got a big enough ribbed body to where it is a bigger profile. And of course, the tail on that Swing Impact is very, very small. So if you are flipping around beds, you're flipping around pre-spawn areas, this does have a subtle enough action to where it's not going to drive the fish away, especially, throwing cross-style Ned rigs and stuff. It's almost too much drag in the water, and you might as well just throw that craw on a shaky head or a Texas rig, in my opinion. But this little guy right here, the Swing Impact 3.5, or even I think the Easy Shiners are a great option as well. Very soft plastic. Of course, they have the strong squid smell on them, so that also helps. 3.5 is about as big as I go, and I got squid juice all over my hands now because it's leaking out of here. Smells very fishy, so I need to go wash my hands. But, I mean, those guys are usually my top 4 choices in terms of right now. So, whether you're at a pond, whether you're at a lake, whatever you're fishing, guys, these are usually my go-tos. Now, we do have several different choices of heads that you can use. One of the brand new ones from VMC is the Swingin' Ned Rig Jig Head. Gosh, that took a lot to get out. What's neat about this one is the hook actually swivels around, gives the bait a little more lifelike action. So depending on what your fish want, if they do want a little action in there, when they're inspecting it, it helps for it to move around just a little bit. This one definitely gets the job done. It has a 90-degree line tie, and the head itself, if you're fishing sand, can be really, really good just because it can really burrow down in there. It's got a cone head, and that guy right there is super, super cool. Next up, your more traditional ones. So these are your more traditional Finesse Shrooms heads. This one is weedless right there, and we've got a bunch of them. I mean, you can check them all out on the website. I don't know. Is it? Yeah, there you go. These are weedless. I absolutely love these around little areas, patches of vegetation, especially not quite hydrilla, but you get a little pondweed or something like that. It keeps the weeds off the hook. And these weed guards, you can easily take them out if you don't want them. So typically for a smart buy, buying the weedless ones, paying just like, I don't know, 50 cents more for the weedless part, definitely enjoy that. This one also comes with 2 weed guards. It has 2-in-1 kind of, and you can spread them apart. If you can actually push them down to help your bait stand up, help the head stand up. And then of course, the Ned locks right here. It's got a heavier mustad hook. I absolutely love these. You do have to set the hook a little bit harder, but these guys very, very effective, especially for your Z-Man plastics and your other normal plastics as well. I like that keeper. Now we've got 2 other ones with the iterations of the football heads. We've got the Divine Ned rig right here. These are great around rockier areas. It's going to help crawl around the rocks. And then the Z-Man counterpart. So going to be very, very similar. These do not have weed guards on them. These ones do. And can't go wrong with these. They're both super great hooks on them. The Divine Ned rig head is a little bit, or the hook is a little bit lighter, so I do enjoy these a little bit more. And let's talk about some rods here. Like I said, reels, guys. I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of reels, but these are some of our rods here that I know y'all will enjoy. Let's see, started off with a Miller rod. So one of the key things that I look for in a rod, guys, is it's got to be limber enough. And I think having the right action throughout the rod is almost more important than having it being like a very, very light power. Because the Ned rig is a very light hook, you've got to make sure that you're keeping those fish pinned, and you can also play them with your drag to help substitute the rod. So this one right here, it's a very moderate action rod. The taper goes almost all the way down into the blank. This is a Miller Rod's Flick Freak. This is a 6'10" rod. So if you're doing any up close, you're not making super long distance casts, this Flick Freak here is super amazing. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guides on it on a 6'10" rod. It's got the specially designed tangle-free guides on here from Fuji. And this thing is super amazing, extremely light and balanced in the hand. I actually talked to Carl Jochimson at the Elite Series tournament at Lake Fork the other day, and he was talking about this one with me because we are almost out of them. The rod itself is a medium, I believe. Let me double check here. It says it is a... Actually, it doesn't really say, but it's basically a medium power, which is kind of what you want, especially at the 6'10" range. You can get a good hook set in them. So this is going to be one that is perfect for those little 6-cents football heads where it does have a very nice light hook. You can throw the thicker weedless, just normal ones, get a good hook in them, and that's very, very important there. Moving on from Shimano, guys, we have a Zodius here. This is a 7-foot medium light rod. So this is the ZDS 70 MLA. So this is the Zodius rod. Again, very similar to that Flick Freak. You can see it strengthens up right at the last guide here. Tangle-free guides, guys, for braid. Very, very great tip at the top portion of the rod here. You can see it loads very, very easily. Great for those lighter hooks, especially for your Ned rigs. Great for drop shots as well. You can use it for almost any finesse technique, flick shakes, anything like that. This is going to be a great rod. I really love the CI4 carbon monocoque handle back here. You can really feel everything going through the rod. Spiral X technology, or sorry, not Spiral X in this one. That's in the X Pride, but all the really cool stuff from Shimano. And the Zodius, guys, really, really cool rod. Black and red. I absolutely love it. And we're moving on here. So next up from Megabass. This is going to be one of the lighter rods. This is meant to be more like a hair jig rod. However, if you are fishing deeper water, you really need to make a long cast, this is going to be a great rod for you. So this isn't specifically for hair jigs. This is going to be great for a wide range of light techniques, essentially. So if you're using small drop shot hooks, really small Ned rigs, using really, really small hair jigs, this one is the Megabass Flissa. It's a 7'6", 7'6", 2.5 power. So extremely light tip, very, very light. I mean, look at that, almost nothing. And it really doesn't strengthen up until basically at the very, very back of the rod. The P5 line, it's like three blanks in one essentially, where you're taking that extremely light tip, a great moderate action in the mid part of the rod, and then it strengthens up with a little bit of backbone for support on your rod. So 7'6", guys, it's going to be able to cast a really long way. I don't suggest anything over 10-pound test on this. Really, I would really be using 8 and below. So really light line, 8-pound Overwatch, braided line is going to be great. And yeah, this Megabass Flissa P5 Destroyer, extremely awesome. You're going to have to give it a try if you get the chance. And anytime you guys want to come into the store and want to try some rods, just let us know. We'll be happy to spool something up for you. You'll get a feel for the balance and all that. And it's really important at that higher end, in my opinion, that you're able to test it kind of, you know, like a car dealership. You get a little test drive of the rod before you spend the money on them. So next up, a great rod from Daiwa is going to be the Daiwa Steez. This one here is specialized for a lot of different finesse techniques. This is called the One. It's a 7'6", medium light. So it's kind of similar to the Flissa in terms of length and action. It's a little bit more powerful. So the tip section is very, very good. I mean, it's very soft and limber. AGS guides, you're going to be able to feel everything through that carbon guide as well as down into the handle here. Now it does strengthen up quite a bit in the midsection of the rod. It's still, I would consider it a medium right here, medium light in the tip for sure, and then nice backbone. So you can get away with throwing some, I mean, like half-ounce drop shots on this. Very effective at keeping those fish pinned. We absolutely love this one. Tim loves it. I love it. And it is going to be a very similar rod to the NRX Plus 902. This one here is one of my favorite drop shot rods of all time. 7'6", very similar to the Flissa and the one from Daiwa there. Going to be a little more similar to the Daiwa in terms of power rating, where it has a very, very soft tip like the Flissa, and then it's going to be a more moderate blank in the middle here, and then it still bends deep down into the rod. So in terms of the rod itself, it's a 7'6" rod, a lighter rod, so 2 power from G Loomis standards, guys. So keep that in mind. I absolutely love the cork on the rod. And I love how it doesn't extend super far up the blank here. They keep the back section nice and long to where you can tuck it up under here, make really long casts. Of course, you've got some recoil guides up top and tangle-free guides down at the bottom. So G Loomis NRX Plus 902, one of my favorite ones to throw a Ned rig on for distance casting. If I'm throwing a shorter, you know, like a shorter cast, don't have to bomb it out there as far. I'm going to be using either the Flick Shake, or sorry, not Flick Shake, the Flick Freak, or like a Zodius. Now, there's a lot of different areas that I like to target. In this spawny time of the year, of course, little points are going to be great. If you can find like seawalls or something like that, that has a little chunk rock mixed in there, and you can target that chunk rock, the Ned rig can be very, very effective. And the beauty of the Ned rig is it just does nothing. It's like a little turd sitting in the water, and you can really just leave it there floating around. And a lot of the time the fish will come up, scoop it, and you know, you can have plenty of big fish that eat your lure. Now, like I was going back to the baits here, I don't really throw anything over like 4-inch. Like this hula stick, I'll usually cut down a little portion of the top to make it around 3.5-inch. But depending on the Ned rigs that you're throwing, especially whatever type of water that you're throwing them into, typically I'll go with either a 1/8 or like a 1/5, like at the max, essentially, for my Ned rigs. I just don't think there's any benefit of throwing anything heavier than that, especially where we're at here in Texas. If you're throwing it, of course, in like 20-25 foot of water, definitely go bigger to like a 3/8 or 1/2 ounce. But for me, that little 1/8 to 1/5 range is going to be perfect. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. You know, this is one that I don't really enjoy talking about, that the Ned rig, it's not fun to me, not an interactive way. I'm kind of just throwing it out there, letting it soak, and then getting a bite and reeling them in. So I hope this helped you. If you have any questions, of course, help us out. Leave a comment down below in the comment section. Leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Link Pro Tackle.